I'm Braxton Hale, a 43-year-old welder living in Cedar Creek, Missouri, where golden fields stretch endlessly and life moves slow like a quiet river. I never thought I'd share this story, but if you're listening, stick with me because what I'm about to tell you will make you rethink trust, family, and the cost of truth. Picture a moment when your world collapses, a midnight call, a secret exposed a loved one in the hospital, and you realize the person you trusted most stabbed you in the back. That's my story, and it started on an ordinary evening but ended in a fight I never imagined I'd face. Hit that like button, subscribe, and join me on this journey you won't be able to look away. It all began on a late fall day when I returned from a camping trip with my best friend Trent. We'd spent 3 days by the lake fishing burning campfires and laughing about the awful coffee Trent always griped about. I remember thinking life is good. I had a steady job as a foreman at Mid-State Metal Fabrication, a house I'd fixed up myself, and a family I loved more than anything, my wife Lorna and our 15-year-old daughter Callie. Callie was my light, a smart, stubborn girl like me, but with her mother's smile and wit. Driving home, the scent of pine drifting through the window, all I wanted was to hug Callie and hear Lorna's stories about the days I'd been gone. But then my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Lorna and an unknown number. Before I could call back, a cold voice answered Mr. Hale. "This is Nurse Jenkins from Cedar Creek Memorial. Your daughter's in the ER." My heart stopped. I asked, "How's Callie?" "What happened?" The nurse said Callie was stable but unconscious and the sheriff wanted me there now. I don't remember driving, everything blurred, just my heartbeat pounding and questions swirling. Was Callie in a car accident? Did she fall, or was it a sudden illness? Callie was always healthy, never reckless. Nothing made sense. When I burst into the hospital, the fluorescent lights blinded me. I stammered, "My daughter Callie Hale, where is she?" A nurse pointed me down a hall where Sheriff Miles Denton waited. Miles, an old high school friend, was a good man, but his face was grim. He led me to a small room and said, "Braxton, brace yourself." Callie was brought in 4 hours ago, unconscious, with bruises on her face, arms, and torso. My blood ran cold. "Who did this?" I growled, fighting the rage boiling inside. Miles looked at me, his eyes heavy. "We're figuring that out." Lorna says Callie fell downstairs at school after a parent-teacher meeting. "Braxton, do you buy that?" I shook my head. The school was closed that day for a staff meeting, no parent conferences. Something was wrong, and I knew Lorna was hiding something. Miles took me to Callie's room. Through the window, I saw her lying there, pale bruises splotched across her face, an oxygen tube in her nose, the monitor beeping steadily. My fists clenched, not from fear, but from a deep, burning anger. Who dared touch my girl? Dr. Mendez, a petite woman with sharp eyes, met me outside. She said Callie had a concussion, multiple bruises, and blood tests showed sedatives in her system. Sedatives, I nearly shouted. Why would she have sedatives? The doctor shook her head. We don't know yet. She's not awake, but her vitals are stable. The next 24 hours will tell us more. Then Lorna appeared at the end of the hall, eyes red, but her hair and makeup perfect like she'd just left a party. "Braxton, thank God you're here," she said, arms outstretched to hug me. But I stepped back, a reflex I didn't even register. "What happened, Lorna?" I asked, my voice like ice. She spun a smooth story. They were at school meeting a teacher about Callie's science project. Callie went to the bathroom and then fell down the stairs. I stared into her eyes, catching the slight blink, and the way she shifted her weight tells I'd known after 20 years together. She was lying. Dr. Mendez cut in, "Mrs. Hale, as I told you, Callie's injuries don't match a fall. The bruises suggest multiple impacts, not a single tumble. And there's the sedative issue." Lorna's voice rose. "What do you mean?" "Maybe she took something herself." Teens experiment. You know that, Braxton. But I wasn't listening to her anymore. I demanded the full medical report and sat by Callie holding her hand, whispering, "I'm here, kid. I'll keep you safe." While Lorna went for coffee, I spotted Callie's backpack in the corner. Her phone poked out, screen cracked, but working. Callie didn't use a password, a deal we had for emergencies. I scrolled through her texts and froze at one from an unknown number. "He knows. Mom says we'll be safe." Sent at 10:43 that morning, hours before Callie was admitted. Who knew safe from what? I called Trent, the friend I trusted most. Trent, I need your help. Something's off with Lorna. Trent didn't ask questions, just said, "Name it, Brax. What do you need?" I asked him to check my and Lorna's credit card statements, especially her private one, for the past 6 months. I didn't know what I was looking for, but my gut screamed Lorna was hiding more than a lie. Meanwhile, my sister Odessa arrived at the hospital. She never liked Lorna, and when I told her about the text and medical report, she nearly shouted, "That snake, I always knew she was trouble." I tried to stay calm. "No proof yet, Desa, but I'll find it." The next morning, Trent brought the statements to the hospital. We sat in the cafeteria papers spread out. "Look at this." Trent pointed to highlighted lines. "Hotel in Jefferson City, restaurants you and Lorna never go to, and this Radiance Fine Jewels in Colia. Did Lorna give you anything from there?" I shook my head. Then Trent placed a keyring on the table labeled Millhouse. He'd found it in Lorna's glove compartment. "This is for a rental house east of town, Millhouse Lane." A chill ran down my spine. I knew I had to go there. That night, rain pouring, Trent and I parked across from 1423 Millhouse Lane, a plain house nobody would notice. We waited, and then Lorna appeared wearing a dress I'd never seen, stepping out of a silver sedan. 10 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up, and a tall, lanky man in his late 30s got out holding a bottle of wine and a gift bag. He entered without knocking, and through the window I saw Lorna kiss him, a kiss that left no doubt about their relationship. Trent whispered, "Damn, Brax. I'm sorry," but I just stared, a plan forming in my mind. We waited until they left, then used the key to enter. Inside, I found evidence I both wanted and dreaded: 2 wine glasses on the coffee table dishes in the kitchen, showing a shared meal, and in the bedroom, a framed photo of Lorna Callie and the man by a lake. Callie wasn't smiling, her face tense like she was forced to be there. On the dresser, I found mail addressed to Leon Godfrey, and in a leather journal, Lorna's lies about me. He screamed at Callie for breaking curfew, terrorizing her for hours. Another page read, "Lawyer says medical records and video are ideal evidence." And the final line chilled me. "Leon says when we're free, we'll claim the insurance enough to start over somewhere warm." I had a $750,000 life insurance policy, and Lorna was the beneficiary. I photographed everything, my heart pounding as the truth sank in. Lorna wasn't just cheating. She planned to ruin me, maybe kill me, and Callie was a pawn in her game. I returned to the hospital, sat by Callie, and on Saturday morning a small sound woke me. Callie's eyes fluttered open, her voice hoarse. "Dad," I grabbed her hand, called the nurse, and as the doctor checked her, Callie looked at me, tears spilling. "I didn't want to lie to you," she whispered. "Mom made me promise." Callie revealed Lorna was seeing Leon, a younger accountant, and claimed to love him. At first, Lorna met Leon secretly, but then forced Callie to come along, saying it looked less suspicious with her there. Callie hated it, but Lorna threatened that telling would destroy the family. They often went to the Millhouse Lane house, and Callie overheard Lorna and Leon planning to leave, take my insurance money, and gain custody by painting me as abusive. Callie refused to lie about me, and that night Lorna gave her juice that tasted strange. It was the last thing she remembered before waking here. Hearing Callie's story, I felt rage and pain. How could a mother do this to her child? But I focused on protecting Callie. I called Miles, who recorded her statement. We met at the Cedar Creek Public Library to strategize. Miles confirmed sedatives in Callie's blood, a prescription sleep aid found in Lorna's purse. Odessa brought news from Lorna's aunt Ula, who revealed Lorna once framed a college boyfriend to cover her cheating, nearly ruining him. Trent found Leon used multiple social security numbers and had a history of scamming wealthy women. It all pointed to one truth: Lorna and Leon planned to destroy me. I knew I had to act carefully. I sold inherited land, moving money out of Lorna's reach. I removed her as my insurance beneficiary, putting everything in a trust for Callie with Odessa as trustee. I hired Anthony Williams, a tough Cedar Creek lawyer. And I kept living like I knew nothing, letting Lorna think she was in control. That was the hardest part, watching her play the grieving wife while knowing she'd poisoned our daughter. A month later, Lorna filed for divorce, accusing me of emotional abuse and demanding emergency custody of Callie. She served me at the shop in front of my crew a deliberate humiliation. But I was ready. At the hearing, Williams dismantled her story. He presented hospital records, Callie's testimony, and evidence from Millhouse Lane. When Callie took the stand, her voice shook but held firm. Mom gave me sleeping pills and hurt me to frame Dad. They wanted the insurance and custody. Lorna paled, screaming, "You're lying." But the judge, a no-nonsense veteran, wasn't swayed. He granted me custody, froze our joint assets, and issued a no-contact order against Lorna. 3 weeks later, Leon was arrested for fraud and conspiracy. He spilled everything, saying it was Lorna's idea. Lorna was caught at her sister's in Jefferson City, facing charges of conspiracy, child endangerment, and insurance fraud. Her trial lasted 2 weeks, and when the jury found her guilty, she collapsed, screaming at me, "Yeah, you did this." I just looked at her and said, "No, Lorna. You set your own life on fire." 6 months later, I sat on my porch watching the sunset paint the horizon gold. Callie was inside doing homework, laughing with friends on the phone. She was in therapy, healing from her mother's betrayal. I started teaching welding at the youth center, helping kids from broken homes finding meaning after the chaos. Lorna got 8 years, Leon 12. I didn't feel victorious, just empty, then slowly peaceful. This story isn't just about me or Callie. It's about trust, how it can be shattered, but also rebuilt. I recall a true story I read about a father in Ohio who discovered his wife secretly took their kids to win custody after her affair. He fought in court like me and won them back. Stories like that remind us that truth, however painful, is the only light in the darkness. I learned you can't control others, but you can choose how to face them. For me, that meant choosing Callie, choosing truth, and rising from the ashes. If you've been betrayed, how did it feel? Share in the comments, I read them all. And if this story made you think, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more deep stories. Thanks for being here, and remember, the truth is always worth fighting for. I sat there on the porch, whiskey in hand, the sunset fading, but my mind still reeling from what had happened. Callie was safe, Lorna and Leon locked away. But I knew this story wasn't truly over. Secrets still lingered, pieces I hadn't found, and a stubborn part of me, the part that wouldn't quit, said I needed to keep digging. Folks, if you thought what I just shared was the peak of drama, brace yourselves, because what happened next shook me, a man who thought he'd seen it all. Stay with me, hit that like button, and let's uncover darker secrets I never saw coming. After the trial, I thought I could breathe. Callie went back to school, still wary, always glancing over her shoulder like someone was watching. I tried to keep things normal, taking her for ice cream at Dairy Queen, watching movies on Friday nights. But when Callie went quiet longer than usual, I knew she was thinking about her mom. One evening, eating pizza, Callie looked at me, eyes hesitant. "Dad, I think Mom mentioned something about a safe deposit box at a bank." I overheard her talking to Leon, but I didn't pay attention then. I stopped chewing the pizza, dropping to the plate. A safe deposit box. "Do you remember anything else?" Callie shook her head. "Just that Mom said it was important, that if anything happened, it would protect us." "I don't know where it is." Callie's words hit like lightning. Lorna was always good at hiding things, but a safe deposit box, I hadn't considered that. I called Trent right away. "Trent, you still have those bank statements. Look for anything tied to a bank or safe deposit box." Trent, as usual, didn't ask much, just said, "Give me a day." While waiting, I racked my brain trying to recall if Lorna ever mentioned a bank. Then it hit me years ago. She talked about opening a joint savings account at First National Bank in Jefferson City. But when I asked, she brushed it off as just an idea. I didn't question it then, but now everything Lorna did was suspect. The next morning, Trent called, his voice tense. "Brax, I found a recurring transaction, $50 a month, to First National, listed as service fees. No details, but I dug deeper. It's for a safe deposit box rental. And it's in Lorna's name." My heart raced. "You got an address?" Trent gave me the details, and I knew I had to act. But I didn't want to drag Callie deeper, so I asked Odessa to watch her. "Where are you going, Brax?" Odessa asked, her eyes sharp. "To find answers," I said, keeping it short. If Lorna was hiding something, it could be the key to her whole plan, or worse, a threat still lurking. I drove to Jefferson City, to the First National Bank, a red brick building with gleaming glass doors. I didn't know what I expected, a bank teller to just hand me the box. I had no key, no legal right, but I had determination. Inside, I met a clerk named Sarah and took a shot. "I'm Braxton Hale. My wife, Lorna Hale, has a safe deposit box here. She's in legal trouble, and I need to check if it involves our daughter." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Sir, I can't grant access without authorization or a court order." I nodded, expecting that, but played my last card. "I get it, but my daughter Callie nearly died because of my wife's plans. If something in that box can protect her, I need to know. Please at least confirm it exists." Sarah hesitated, then typed into her computer. After a minute that felt like forever, she said, "I can confirm a safe deposit box under Lorna Hale's name. But that's all I can say. You'll need a lawyer or the police." I thanked her and left, but my mind was already planning. I called Miles. "Miles, I need a search warrant. Lorna's got a safe deposit box at First National, and I bet it's tied to the case." Miles, calm but efficient, said, "I'll talk to the DA. But Brax, if she's hiding something, it might not just be money or papers." "You ready for that?" 2 days later, Miles called. "We got the warrant. Meet me at the bank tomorrow morning." When I arrived, Miles and a bank official were waiting. They opened the box, and what was inside chilled me: a stack of cash, about $20,000, a USB drive, a small notebook, and a vial of pills labeled Zolpidem, the same sedative found in Callie's blood. Miles looked at me. "Brax, this is bigger than we thought. We took everything to the station, and when they plugged in the USB files, appeared forged contracts in my name, additional insurance documents with faked signatures, and a folder labeled Plan B. Inside were emails between Lorna and someone called R discussing handling the Braxton problem if the insurance scheme failed. One email read, 'If he doesn't go naturally, we'll have to force it. R knows how to make it look like an accident.' I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Lorna didn't just want money, she'd planned to kill me, and there was a third player, R, in the shadows. Miles put a hand on my shoulder. "Brax will track this guy down, but you and Callie need to stay careful. If Lorna had accomplices, they might still be watching." That night, I didn't sleep. I checked every window, locked every door, and kept a shotgun by my bed, something I hadn't touched since deer hunting with my dad. Callie sensed my tension. "Dad, something's wrong, isn't it?" I didn't want to scare her, but I couldn't lie. "Kid, I'm just being cautious. Your mom might have worked with others, and I need to keep us safe." I hired a private investigator, Jack Riley, a former St. Louis cop Miles recommended. Jack wasn't cheap, but he had a reputation for finding what others couldn't. I gave him the USB and told him everything. "Braxton, I've seen cases like this." Jack said, his voice low. "People like Lorna don't act alone. This R could be a pro hired to clean up. I'll start with the emails and the pills." While Jack worked, I got an unexpected call from Lorna's mother, Margaret, someone I hadn't spoken to since our wedding. She was crying, saying, "Braxton, I'm sorry for Lorna. I know she was wrong, but she didn't act alone. There was another man, not Leon. I heard Lorna mention someone in Springfield, someone who fixes problems. I don't know his name, but you need to know." Margaret's words lit a fire. Someone in Springfield. I remembered Aunt Eula, who'd hinted at Lorna's past. I called Eula, and this time she spilled more. "Braxton, Lorna was mixed up with a guy in Springfield back in college. His name was Roger Klein. A troublemaker, dealt drugs, did shady stuff. Lorna cut contact after a scandal framing her boyfriend, but if she reached out again, you should check." I passed the info to Jack, who found a lead: Roger Klein, now 45, living outside Springfield, working for a transport company linked to Midwest Freight Logistics, Leon's employer. The pieces started connecting. I felt like I was peeling back layers of a toxic onion. Jack dug deeper and found Roger had a rap sheet: drug trafficking, extortion, and a suspected link to a missing witness, though no conviction. The USB emails traced to a Springfield coffee shop Roger frequented. Braxton, Jack said, "I think Roger is R. He could be who Lorna hired to handle you if the first plan failed. And if he's still out there, you and Callie are at risk." I told Miles, who coordinated with Springfield police, to track Roger. But one night, as Callie and I watched TV, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or the girl pays." Attached was a photo of Callie walking home from school, taken from a distance. I pulled Callie close, my heart racing. "Dad, who sent that?" she asked, voice trembling. I didn't answer, just called Miles and Jack immediately. Miles stationed a deputy outside our house, and Jack ramped up his investigation. "Braxton, this is a scare tactic," Jack said. "But it proves Roger knows you're closing in. We need to move fast." The next week was a nightmare. I sent Callie to stay with Odessa a safer spot and installed cameras around the house. Jack traced the phone number to a Springfield payphone, but found a witness. A coffee shop worker who recognized Roger often sat with a laptop sending emails. Police finally caught Roger trying to skip state, carrying a suitcase of cash and a gun. During interrogation, he admitted Lorna hired him as a backup plan, promising $50,000 from my insurance to make me disappear in a way that looked accidental, maybe a car crash or house fire. He also confessed to sending the threatening text to protect Lorna, hoping I'd back off. But the biggest shock came when Miles called me to the station to watch an interrogation video. Roger, to reduce his sentence, turned over a secret recording of him and Lorna made before her arrest. In it, Lorna said, "If Braxton dies, it'll be easier. Callie will side with me, she's young, moldable. Just make sure no one suspects." Hearing Lorna's cold, calculated voice felt like betrayal all over again. She didn't just want money, she wanted to control Callie, to erase me from her life. Lorna's second trial reopened with the new evidence. Roger testified against her, exposing the full plan. This time, she faced conspiracy to commit murder charges. In court, she dropped the victim act, screaming at me, "You think you won. I'll get out and I'll take Callie back." But the judge stern-eyed sentenced her 25 years without parole. Roger got 15. As Lorna was led away, I met her eyes not with anger, but relief. She couldn't hurt us anymore. Callie and I moved to a new house a few miles from Cedar Creek for a fresh start. She now talks about studying law, wanting to be a prosecutor to help people like us. I still teach welding at the youth center, and seeing a kid find hope reminds me of Callie's strength. I recall a true story about a Texas mother who nearly lost her kids to her ex-husband's scheme, but fought and won them back. Stories like hers give me faith that no matter how deep the darkness, truth finds a way. I stood on our new porch, watching Missouri's fields under the sky, trying to savor this rare peace. Callie was inside, giggling at a Netflix movie that sounded like medicine for my heart after all we'd been through. Lorna was locked away with a 25-year sentence, Leon and Roger behind bars. I thought we could finally move forward, that the darkness was gone. But folks, if you think my story's done, brace for another shock, because what happened next made me realize truth can be deeper and scarier than I ever imagined. Keep watching, hit that like button, and let's uncover new secrets you won't believe what I found. It started on a Saturday morning, months after moving to our new house. I was fixing the back fence, sweating under the early sun, when a mail truck stopped at the gate. The delivery guy, a young kid named Pete, handed me an envelope with no return address, just my name, Braxton Hale. The envelope was worn, edges yellowed like it had sat somewhere for years. A chill hit me, though I didn't know why. I opened it, and inside was a handwritten note, the script shaky: "Braxton, if you're reading this, I failed. Lorna didn't act alone. Check the old shed at Millhouse Lane. Be careful." No signature, but in the corner a small symbol, a circle with a C inside. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to make sense of it. An old shed at Millhouse Lane. I remembered the rental house Lorna and Leon used, but no one mentioned a shed. And who sent this? Part of me wanted to toss it, thinking it was a sick prank. But after all, Lorna did poisoning Callie, plotting my murder, hiring Roger to clean up. I couldn't ignore it. I called Trent, always ready to dive into madness with me. "Trent, you recall anything about a shed near the Millhouse Lane house?" Trent paused, then said, "No, but that area has abandoned lots, could be something." "You found something," I told him about the letter, and Trent didn't hesitate. "Meet me there in an hour. And Brax, bring a flashlight." We reached Millhouse Lane at noon, the sun blazing, making everything look deceptively normal. The rental house was sealed, but after searching, we found a trail leading to a vacant lot behind, where a weathered wooden shed stood, its tin roof, rusted door secured with a rusty padlock. Trent raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this? Could be a trap." I nodded, though I was uneasy. If Lorna's hiding more, I need to know. Trent cut the lock with bolt cutters, and we pushed the door open. Inside was pitch black, reeking of moldy wood and motor oil. My flashlight swept over dusty crates, a broken motorcycle, and a small safe sitting alone in the corner. I knelt, inspecting the safe. It had no combination, just a keyhole. Trent rummaged and found a tin box with old keys. One fit, and when I opened it, my heart stopped. Inside was a notebook, a stack of photos, and an old prepaid phone. The notebook had the same C symbol as the letter, and as I flipped through, I realized it was a diary by someone named Clara, someone I'd never heard of. The diary detailed Clara working for Lorna, helping plan to get rid of Braxton. But the shocker was Clara writing she felt guilty that Lorna pushed her to do things too far, like dosing Callie's drink to test sedative levels. One line froze me. If I disappear, it's not an accident. Lorna won't stop. I looked at Trent, his face pale. Braxton, who's Clara, and why'd she send you that letter? I had no answers, but the photos made it murkier. There were shots of Lorna and Leon, but also of Clara, a woman about 30, blonde, sad-eyed, standing with Lorna at a bar. Another showed Clara with Roger Klein looking close. The prepaid phone wouldn't turn on battery dead, but I stuffed everything in my bag and called Miles. Miles, I found something at Millhouse Lane. A diary photos and a name Clara. She might be tied to Lorna. Miles's voice was grave. Bring it to the station. And Brax, don't go alone anymore. If Clara's missing, we might be dealing with another crime. At the station, Miles and a detective, Karen, started investigating. They confirmed Clara Thompson, 32, worked at Midwest Freight Logistics with Leon, but vanished 2 years ago, just before Lorna's plan with Callie began. Her family reported her missing, but police assumed she skipped town over debts. The diary and photos changed everything. Karen accessed the prepaid phone and found its last text sent to an unknown number. I can't keep going. I'm telling Braxton. Sent a week before Clara disappeared. I felt sucked into a black hole. Lorna didn't just betray me and Callie, she might have harmed someone else. I recalled a true story about a California woman, Susan McBride, who vanished after working for a scamming couple. Her family fought for years and learned she was killed to silence her. Clara could be another Susan, and I couldn't let her story be buried. I brought in Jack Riley. Jack, I need to know what happened to Clara. If Lorna's involved, I want her to pay fully. Jack dug into Clara's past and found she was Lorna's close friend from their days at an insurance firm in Jefferson City. Clara had financial planning skills, and Lorna roped her into the insurance scam. But per the diary, Clara grew uneasy when Lorna mentioned accidents for me. Jack found a witness, a former coworker, who said Clara feared Lorna, claiming Lorna threatened to ruin her if she backed out. The witness recalled Clara mentioning a storage at Millhouse Lane where Lorna kept backup evidence. While Jack worked, I got another call, this time from an unfamiliar woman's voice whispering, Braxton, you're going too far. Stop or Callie won't be safe. The call cut off before I could respond. I told Miles, who traced it, another Springfield payphone. This time, nearby security footage caught a woman in a scarf, face unclear, using the phone. Miles looked at me. Braxton, someone's still protecting Lorna. Either an accomplice or someone scared of her. I decided to confront Lorna. I got clearance to visit the county jail where she was held. Sitting across from her through the glass, she smirked like she still held the upper hand. Braxton here to apologize, or still playing hero? I stared into her eyes. Who's Clara Thompson, Lorna? And where is she? Her smirk vanished, panic flashing before she recovered. I don't know any Clara. You're imagining things. But I saw that familiar blink. She was lying. I left the jail, but on the drive home, a black SUV tailed me. I sped up, turned onto a rural road, but it stayed close. Finally, it swerved, forcing me to the shoulder, and a masked man stepped out, pointing at me through the window. Stop digging, Hale. Last warning. Before I could react, he jumped back in and sped off. I reported it to Miles, who upped Callie's protection, but I knew I couldn't stop. Clara, Callie, and I, we all needed the truth. Jack finally hit a major lead, a secret bank account in Clara's name, accessed remotely by Lorna. It received funds from a shell company tied to Midwest Freight. Jack suspected Lorna used Clara to launder money from Leon and Roger's illegal dealings, and when Clara wanted out, Lorna eliminated her. Miles got a warrant for another abandoned Springfield warehouse Roger had rented. There they found an old car registered to Clara with blood traces in the trunk. DNA confirmed it was Clara Thompson's. This evidence reopened Clara's disappearance, now investigated as a murder. Lorna was questioned again, but she stayed silent, insisting she was innocent. A prison guard revealed Lorna recently received letters from someone signing as M. I suspected M was Margaret Lorna's mother who'd called me. I tracked Margaret down in Kansas City, and after a tense talk, she broke down. Braxton, I didn't want to protect Lorna, but I'm scared. She's tied to dangerous people, not just Leon or Roger. There's someone behind it, someone she called the boss. I don't know his name, but Lorna said he could destroy us all. Margaret's words were a bombshell. A boss. I thought I'd hit rock bottom, but now I saw Lorna was part of a bigger web. I shared with Jack and Miles, who started probing Midwest Freight's ties to organized crime. Meanwhile, Callie, though protected, began finding odd notes at school slips in her locker saying, "Don't trust your dad." I added cameras, hired a bodyguard for Callie, but fear clung to me. One night, Callie screamed from her room, and I rushed in, finding the window wide open, curtains flapping. No one was there, but on her desk was a dagger pinning a note. "Next time won't just be a warning." I knew I was facing an invisible enemy, but I couldn't back down. Jack found the boss might be Victor Malone, a St. Louis businessman with a clean front but suspected of money laundering and smuggling. Malone had indirect ties to Midwest Freight through transport contracts. Miles worked with the FBI, who began tracking Malone. But before a breakthrough, I got a call from Malone himself, a deep, icy voice. "Braxton Hale, you're a stubborn man. Meet me at the St. Louis docks tomorrow night alone. If not, Callie's never safe." I knew it was a trap, but I had no choice. I told Miles, who set up a covert task force. That night at the docks, I met Malone, a man in his fees, in an expensive suit with a snake smile. He admitted knowing Lorna, calling her a useful pawn, now expendable. "Walk away, Hale, and I'll spare your daughter." I played along, but as Malone turned, the task force swooped in, arresting him. In interrogation, Malone revealed Lorna worked for him, orchestrating the insurance scam to pay off debts from his illegal operations. Clara was killed for threatening to expose him, and Lorna ordered Roger to do it. With Malone's evidence, Lorna got a life sentence without parole. Callie and I slowly found peace, but the scars remain. I recall a true Chicago family who fought a crime syndicate after discovering a relative's involvement. They survived like us through persistence and trust. If you're still here, share your story. How did you overcome darkness? Hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Callie and I keep moving forward, and I hope you do too. I stood on the St. Louis docks that night, cold wind cutting through my heart, still racing, though Victor Malone was cuffed and taken away. Callie was safe, Lorna faced life in prison, and I thought after months of terror we could truly start over. But folks, if you think the darkness lifted, hear me out. Because what came next showed me Lorna's secrets were like a hydra, cut off one head, another grows, and this time it threatened not just me, but everyone I loved. Hit that like button, subscribe, and step into the next chapter of this nightmare. You won't believe what I'm about to share. After Malone's arrest, Callie and I tried rebuilding. We moved back to Cedar Creek, not the old house full of painful memories, but a smaller one near town where I could hear church bells every Sunday. Callie returned to school, joined the debate club, and her smile started coming back. I kept teaching welding at the youth center, finding joy in guiding kids toward a path. But every night, checking windows and locks, a thorn lingered in my heart, a gut feeling we weren't fully free. Then one afternoon at the shop fixing a welder, my phone buzzed with a blocked number. I answered, and a low, distorted male voice said, "Braxton Hale, you think you won, but you've only scratched the surface. Check your mailbox." And this time, no cops. The call cut off before I could speak. My heart pounded, but I stayed calm, not wanting to panic in front of my crew. After my shift, I drove home, stopping at the mailbox. Inside was a brown envelope, no sender, just a scrawled note. "The truth lies in the past." I opened it, and there was an old, faded photo of a group at a picnic. I recognized a younger Lorna Hare in a ponytail standing next to a man I didn't know, tall, dark-haired, wearing sunglasses. On the back, someone wrote, "Ask Odessa about summer 1998. My blood froze. "Odessa, my sister never mentioned Lorna before we married, except that she disliked her from the start." I tucked the photo in my pocket and drove to Odessa's a few miles away. When I knocked, she opened the door in a sweater, brewing coffee. "Brax, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong?" I handed her the photo. "Desa, tell me about summer 1998. And don't hold back." Odessa looked at it, her face paling, and I knew she was hiding something. She sighed, pulled me into the kitchen, and shut the door. Braxton, I didn't want to drag this up. It's been buried. But if you found this, you need the truth. Odessa said in summer 1998, before I met Lorna, she and Lorna worked together at a Springfield bar where college kids hung out. Lorna, then 22, was charming but always in trouble. She was involved with a guy named Marcus Reed, the man in the photo, a known smuggler in the area. Marcus didn't just deal drugs. He ran a network stealing and selling cars across borders. Lorna was his link, using her looks and smarts to lure delivery drivers into traps. Odessa, young and naive, got roped in briefly but backed out when it got too dangerous. Lorna didn't. Odessa said, staring into the distance. She loved Marcus, or rather his power. I thought she cut ties when she married you, but if this photo surfaced, maybe she never really left. I sat stunned. Lorna didn't just deceive me in our marriage, she had a criminal past I never knew. Why didn't you tell me, Desa? I asked, voice shaking with anger and hurt. Odessa took my hand. Brax, I wanted to protect you. When you fell for Lorna, you were happy. I thought she'd changed, and after Callie was born, I didn't want to wreck your family. I shook my head, unsure whether to be mad or grateful. But the photo and note weren't random. Someone was pointing me to Marcus Reed, and I needed to know why. I called Jack Riley and told him everything. Jack wasn't shocked. Braxton people like Lorna don't turn criminal overnight. They learn from someone. If Marcus Reed's behind this, we need to find him. But know this guy's like him, don't play nice. Jack started digging and within days confirmed Marcus Reed was alive, 50, living in Kansas City as a car dealership owner. But behind the scenes, he still ran a crime network from smuggling to extortion. Jack also found a bombshell. Victor Malone, the guy I faced at the docks, worked for Marcus before branching out. Lorna, it turned out, was the link between them, possibly using Marcus's network to plot against me. I told Miles, who warned Brax, Marcus Reed's a big fish. The FBI's been after him for a decade, but he slips away like a ghost. If you want to take him on, you need evidence and you need to be careful. He doesn't hesitate to kill. I knew the risk, but I couldn't stop. If Marcus was behind Lorna, Clara, and the threats to Callie, I had to end him. Jack rigged a hidden mic in my wallet, and I decided to confront Marcus. Jack got the address of his dealership, Reed's Auto Empire, a flashy building in Kansas City's suburbs lined with gleaming luxury cars. I walked in posing as a car buyer. Marcus appeared polite but cold, his eyes like knives. Mr. Hale, I'm guessing you're not here for a car, are you? He smirked, leading me to a private office. I went straight for it. I know who you are, Marcus, and I know Lorna worked for you. Where's Clara Thompson? And why are you targeting my daughter? Marcus laughed, but his eyes darkened. Braxton, you're brave, I'll give you that. But you're playing a dangerous game. Lorna was a pawn, Clara too. You're just trash to be swept away. Leave and I'll spare Callie. I stayed calm, the mic recording. So Clara died for threatening to expose you and Lorna helped cover it up. Marcus shrugged. Clara was too soft. Lorna wasn't, she knew how to keep quiet. But you, Braxton, you don't know when to quit. He stood and two burly guys blocked the door. I thought I was done, but my phone buzzed. Miles texted, "Get out now! FBI's moving in." I looked at Marcus, smiling. You're done. Sirens wailed and the FBI stormed in, arresting Marcus and his goons. The mic caught every word, enough to charge him with murder, racketeering, and more. But the biggest shock came when the FBI searched Marcus's home. They found a safe with documents showing Lorna didn't just work for Marcus. She masterminded Clara's murder because Clara threatened to tell me about Lorna's past. A video from Marcus's security camera kept as insurance showed Lorna and Roger pushing Clara off an abandoned Springfield quarry. I watched it at the station, feeling torn apart again. Lorna wasn't just a betrayer, she was a cold-blooded killer. Lorna's final trial was a media storm. Tiny Cedar Creek became a circus. She was sentenced to death for Clara's murder, conspiring to kill me and endangering Callie. Marcus got life. Callie, though strong, cried nightly as the news aired. I held her, promising we'd get through. I recall a true New Jersey family who fought a crime ring after learning a relative was involved. They lost much, but stood tall like us. Now Callie and I live simply, but every day's a victory. She wants to be a prosecutor to stop people like Lorna and Marcus. I keep teaching welding, and each time a student finishes a project, I see hope. If you've made it this far, share your story. How did you fight when the world was against you? Hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Our story proves no matter how deep the darkness, truth finds the light. I sit on the wooden bench on my porch, moonlight casting a silver glow over the swaying wheat fields in the Missouri night. Callie's inside humming to a pop song on the radio, her voice drifting through the open window, blending with the crickets' chorus. After all we've been through, Lorna's betrayal, Marcus Reed's crime web, Clara Thompson's death, and sleepless nights fearing for Callie's safety. This moment, simple and real, feels like a gift. But folks, if you've walked this long road with me, stay a bit longer, because I want to share the end of this story. Not just how we survived, but how we found light after darkness. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's close this chapter together. You'll see that even in the darkest hours, hope always shines through. After Lorna's death sentence and Marcus Reed's life imprisonment, Cedar Creek became a town of whispers. People looked at Callie and me with curiosity and pity, but we refused to let gossip define us. I decided we needed a fresh start, not by running, but by building a life rooted in truth and trust. Callie, now 16, grew stronger than I ever imagined. She started a blog, Breaking the Silence, sharing her story to help other kids manipulated by family. It became a small beacon, inspiring hundreds to write, saying her words helped them face their own trauma. I found healing too. I opened a small welding shop at home, not just for income, but to teach local kids for free, kids like I was with dreams but no guide. One boy, Tommy 14, came to my shop with wary eyes like Callie's after Lorna's betrayal. From a broken home with addict parents, he thought he had no future. But after months of welding, he smiled for the first time, finishing a metal bookshelf. "Mr. Hale," he said, "I think I can do something with my life." That moment reminded me that though Lorna tried to destroy us, I could rebuild not just for me and Callie, but for others too. One day, a letter arrived from the prison postmarked from Lorna's facility. I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to open it. Callie saw me holding it and put a hand on my shoulder. "Dad, if you want to read it, I'm here. But you don't have to prove anything." Her wisdom choked me up. I opened it, and inside was Lorna's familiar handwriting, but this time without pretense or manipulation. She wrote, "Braxton, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I let greed and darkness consume me. I don't expect you or Callie to forgive me, but I want you to know I regret not for myself, but for the pain I caused our daughter." She ended with one line: "Take care of Callie. She's the best thing I ever had." I folded the letter, feeling neither anger nor satisfaction, just a gentle emptiness. I showed it to Callie, who read it and nodded quietly. "I don't forgive her," she said, "but I don't want to hate her anymore. I want to live my life." Those words, simple yet powerful, drew a line under the past. That night, we burned the letter in the fireplace, watching the flames consume Lorna's words just as we left the darkness behind. But this story doesn't end with revenge or pain. It ends with small things: mornings when Callie burns pancakes but laughs loudly, evenings when Trent and I sip beers on the porch, talking baseball instead of plots. It ends with me joining a church support group, meeting others betrayed by loved ones, sharing not to complain, but to remind each other we're not alone. I recall a true story about a Georgia man who lost everything when his wife got tangled in a scam but opened a community center, helping dozens of families rise. People like him, like me, like Callie, prove you can rebuild from ashes. Now, watching Callie prep for her SATs, dreaming of law school at Washington University, I know we didn't just survive, we're thriving. I won't say every day's easy. Some nights I jolt awake dreaming of Lorna or Marcus, but then I hear Callie's soft snores next door and I know I did right. I didn't burn Lorna's world, she did that herself. I just held Callie's hand and walked through the fire, leaving her with her own ashes. If you've come this far, I want your story. How did you push through darkness? What kept you going when the world fell apart? Share in the comments, I read every one. And if this story touched you, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more tales of resilience and truth. Thanks for being here, for listening to an ordinary dad trying to do right. Callie and I will keep moving forward, and I hope you do too. Hold your light no matter how deep the darkness. See you in the next video.